At this point, we've talked about the current state of affairs in the show, we've gone back to the past, and even went quite a ways into the future. Then all over the friggin' place, even into our own dimension. It really has been a crazy trip. But there's one last stop that we need to make, and it's right in the mysterious middle. What has Rose Quartz been doing during her self-imposed exile on Earth? And just what are the corrupted gems and their role in the story? Now, we all know that Rose wanted to protect life by kicking the gems out of Earth due to their environmentally damaging practices, and ends up meeting Garnet and Pearl along the way. She made the Crystal Gems Rebellion faction and managed to get a lot more gems on board, probably because Rose, or someone else, appealed to their frustrations with the gem hierarchy and restrictions on cross-caste fusions. After this time, the war began, and gems began to fight in mass, with the rebellion winning out in the end. But did they really? At the end of the rebellion, humans and most of Earth's natural life were obviously fine, and it's implied that our culture was influenced heavily by the gems and their actions since the war. However, of the actual combatants in the war, there were only 3 that survived. Isn't that kind of odd? There was apparently this war spanning thousands of years with at least Homeworld being capable of mass-producing soldiers and just throwing them at the problem. Yet it was the side that was worn down to just 3 gems who came out victorious? That doesn't quite add up. Either some insane trick or event occurred to scare Homeworld away or divert their attention elsewhere, or there was a lot more gems at the end of the war than we're being led to assume. Corruption may be to blame for the sharp decline in the population. Corrupted gems seem to have lost their sense of identity, possibly including key memories and mental functions, resulting them in taking on monstrous forms and behaving more on their baseline animal instincts. The reasons for this transformation are still unclear, sadly. Could it be a side effect of their immortal lives, causing people to simply go crazy over time? Is it some sort of gem-specific disease, or a whole lot of PTSD and war trauma? Regardless of the cause, it is said that Rose spent her time trying to find a cure. She failed to do this with her time alive, and until a cure is possibly found, the corrupted are in holding in the Crystal Temple. Interestingly, upon seeing this, Peridot claimed that they were harvesting other gems. This was quickly denied, but it is unsure as to whether or not Peridot knows that these gems are corrupted, or what that even means. No Homeworlder to date has actually been in an encounter with these creatures on screen, interestingly enough. In a small ray of hope called Steven, he is shown to have made some progress with the centipedal. Simply by exposing his Stevenness to it, it began to take on less violent forms, and seems to have some idea about who it used to be. Sadly, there is still far too little information about the corruption or the war to draw any decent conclusions about either. But this isn't what this video is about. This is about Rose during the time blank between the end of the Gem War, about right up till she meets Greg, and we hear this tidbit from Pearl.
You're just a phase. You know that, right?
No, I actually don't know that, Pearl.
Well, of course you don't. You don't know anything about Rose.
I know she's super into me.
Listen, Mr. Universe. Rose may find you charming, but that's only because you're human. You're a novelty, at best.
Greg, the man Rose loved more than any other, was just a phase, and Pearl was sure of this. Let's pause the speech there and see if there's anything that would confirm that, perhaps,
Whoa!
Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 16. 16 dead people held in honor in Rose's private sanctum. How are we sure that these are the suits of the souls long past?
And a whole lot of these armor guys. The armor of the fallen.
And is fallen a synonym for the dead? Now, our only problem is determining whether or not the fallen are actually human. Yep, without a doubt. It's quite literally in their name. Armor of the fallen. Who wears armor? Humans. Who doesn't wear armor? Gems. It's quite simple, really. What? Think I'm pulling this all out of my hat? Fine, let's run this over really quick. Gems are able to summon items from their little pocket dimensions, whether it is stored previously or it's their trademark gem weapon. Not armor, weapon. Now, it can be argued that Garnet's gauntlets or Jasper's crash helmet can be seen as having defensive qualities. Well, it's not an argument, it's flat out fact. Helmets stop nasty concussions, and it's hard to cut off arms that are covered by a foot of metal. Seriously, just look at how thick these things are. The thing is that the primary function of these items is offense, and that makes a lot of sense. The purpose of armor is to prevent the wearer from being killed and having to face death. This is a concept that gems don't really understand. There's regeneration, cracks, corruption, shattering, clusterification, whatever the heck Steven is. But no gem has ever actually died. Unless they were ejected into the sun, a piece of their consciousness is always still alive, and it is possible that their body still wanders the earth. This is an immortal species in nearly every sense of the word. The worst that can happen is that they live a life in captivity, or they miss a movie because they have to spend a few hours regrowing their limbs. Now, regrowing limbs really is a pain sometimes, and it'd be nice to not have the threat of being bisected or turning insane by a good shot at your core. So, maybe they'd like to have some armor. This is where the negatives of armor come to play, however. Firstly, armor has weight and will slow the fighters down. Sure, gems have superhuman capabilities, but when the enemy can move faster than the eye can blink, every nanosecond counts. Speed becomes king when everyone is running or rolling at 1,000 miles an hour, and any hit they land will probably tear through armor from the sheer inertia of their attacks. It'd make you weaker, not stronger. Secondly, we go back to the gem's superhuman abilities. With element benders running rampant amongst sugar only knows how many other possible powers and abilities out there for gems to have, it's all too easy to find a gem that can magnetize someone's suit of iron to the floor, sink a gem to the bottom of a pool, or cause a large variety of other effects due to the chemical composition of whatever they're wearing. Finally, this is a gem-specific problem to wearing armor, and it's probably the biggest reason why they don't use it. Gems really only need their core protected, so it makes sense they're surrounded on all sides by some impenetrable armor, right? As a gem, you either live a prisoner or die a shattered madman. To survive, you must kill or be killed. But for humans? Yeah, armor is great for us. We've been using it for most of our history because the way that we physically deal with combat sort of just works with it. We're not moving at near light speeds to make a single extra inch account for megatons of pain. We're pretty frail without the stuff and need the extra survivability anyway. And hey look ma, I can still interact with the real world while fully encased in this suit. Nor are there any metal benders around to squish me to death because our species just doesn't work that way. Finally, each armor in Rose's Sanctum is from a different culture in human history. Yes, there were humans who may have fought during the rebellion, but that occurred long before most of these cultures even began to develop. From samurai to medieval knights, she seems to have been wandering around the world throughout history, meeting human warriors and collecting their remains after they fell in battle. Our sweet little peace-loving Rosie, becoming fascinated with wars and career killers of a species she fought so hard to protect. Oh wait, yeah, she also started a civil war of her own that seems to have resulted in a near genocide of her own faction, and she secretly kept an armory away from everyone else in all this time. Jeez, this woman is all over the place! So, there have been lots of Gregs before, well, Greg. But these guys aren't some rock star hopeful-eyed kids, and it seems like they all met their appropriately bad endings, with Greg being the only Rose survivor. Let's pause a minute here and get our bearings. We have practical confirmation that Rose has been involved with several human men during her time on Earth, and all of these so far have been people of warrior caste, much like herself. This flies into the face of conflict, though, between Rose the terrorist rebel leader and Rose the hippie of peace, which was hinted at with Matt Burnett's reference to the Selesnya story over Twitter. Selesnya being another fictional universe faction that has a similar identity problem. Is there a way to reconcile all of this insanity into a way that makes sense?
Oh, it's very simple. Humans can't fuse.
Well, has any human ever tried fusing with a gem?
No, I don't think so.
Is that hesitation? Does Pearl know something about
The armor of the fallen!
Humans have tried to fuse before. While Pearl may not know the details as she realizes that Rose has hid many things from her, she seems to be at least aware of it, perhaps through conversations with her good departed friend. Death is a very traumatic experience after all, and that can leave a person open to slipping up. But is there something else to all of this? And of course, that someone else is...
Oh man, what's happening? It looks so scared. Oh, calm. Just like before. Yeah, just relax and let your hair down. This isn't you! You're not a monster anymore! You're more than that! We have so many memories now! Ah! No! Ah! You saved me.
Truth is, Rose Quartz had tried to use her powers to save these monsters too, but she was never able to heal them.
Never? But if she couldn't do it...
Who knows?
It's the cluster. I'm talking to the cluster?
You too confused?
Rose does love life. All life. Whatever may have happened to the corrupted gems, she spent thousands of years trying to fix it. Humans have been her attempt at an answer. If anyone is to tame a violent and insane monster, it'd have to be a stoic and powerful military man, right? I mean, after all, they have the qualities needed for such a feat. But unfortunately, even the greatest of many civilizations, those who had the willpower and might to face death for a living, were not enough to pass Rose's tests. The corrupted don't need to be killed. They need to be saved. They need someone to get into their heads and whip some sense into them. But for whatever reasons, these humans couldn't get the job done. It's doubtful that she tried to test the remaining crystal gems to see if this would work either. The risk is simply too high now that there's only 5 of them left on the planet. Then, Greg came along, and Rose decided to try something new. Instead of trying to bring humans to gems, she would bring herself to humanity. Steven is her final creation, but it is unreasonable to think that he'll be able to go through every corrupted gem and bring them all back from the brink of insanity. Rather, he is a proof of concept that the line between species can be breached, starting the next step of her plan. Steven is confirmed to be able to fuse with humans, and it's important to know what fusion does to those involved. They all become a single entity that shares its experiences, memories, thoughts, emotions, and so on. What's important is that they remember the process and the time involved, with it being a repeatable, learnable process. Having a pure human who knows how to replicate fusion begins to become plausible. It is also reasonable that maybe something more than just thoughts are exchanged between the participants of a fusion. While a little twisted, the corrupted gems would then be like animals that need to be tamed. These fusion-capable humans can share their minds with them and bring them stability to their lost and confused minds. In return, the corrupted gems can lend their powers to the human masters to keep them alive and protected. For when the peace amongst worlds finally ends, and we find ourselves without the stalwart defense of the crystal gems, rather, we would have grown to be able to defend ourselves, side by side as equals with them. And if you think I've gone way off the rails with this massive theory, there's one piece I'd like you to turn your attention to again. The book series featured in Steven Universe, which is an allusion to His Dark Materials, brings up an interesting fact. In the His Dark Materials series, every single human has a guardian. If you could perform magic, you got one, no exceptions. And they were meant to be a lifelong companion that would protect and help you. Sound familiar? Gems make themselves out to be living weapons of immense power. It's what they do best, but they seem to have problems when it comes to the matters of the heart and soul. Humans are inventive and empathetic, but we're in need of some sort of defense before we're snuffed out by the harsh world around us. The gems are our weapons and our armor. They offer us protection and the ability to fight back against the dark that would seek to destroy us. To give us this final edge, to give all species a chance to survive together, is what Rose's master plan has been all along. To make more Steven Universe leaks, be sure to share, like, subscribe, really do anything with this video, and it'll make the creative team cry just a little bit more each night. For those of you who have now lost your way and don't even want to bother trying to get it back, follow me on Twitter and Facebook by clicking those fancy blue boxes, because if you think this is bad, oh, we haven't even started yet. Now, if you're some weirdo who doesn't want to do any of those things, but you're still here, why? You're not getting him back. I won't give him back. Have a good one.